Hi, welcome to Mission Over Mood, the podcast where purpose leads and feelings follows. I'm your host Kay, and each week I sit down with artists, entrepreneurs, and everyday people on a mission. Around here, we talk discipline over doubt, passion with a purpose, and why showing up matters more than feeling ready. Let's get into it. So today we are going to be redefining vulnerability. Um, Vulnerability has strengths and not weaknesses. Many people associate being vulnerable with being weak or exposed, but the true vulnerability requires immense courage. And when I say immense courage, what I mean by that is talking about things, doing things, even when it feels uncomfortable, is actually a sign of inner strength, emotional intelligence, and authenticity. And a lot of people get that confused with, oh, if I'm vulnerable or if I'm, exposed or I let my guard down, then, oh, somebody's going to see me as weak. Somebody's going to see me like, this person that they can just attack or, a person that they could just take advantage of. And actually, you can actually show a lot of strength through your vulnerability. There has been times in my life where I was vulnerable to things and people around me, and I can say it's been times where I've been vulnerable for the wrong people and for the wrong situations. And sometimes, of course, we learn life lessons through those vulnerable moments. But then you have your high moments where you can be vulnerable. Like, say, if you're having like a misunderstanding with your family or a friend or whatever, you can like let down your wall. And I've had this experience. So I had like a disagreement with a family member. I would say my sister, right? And we're so used to being like so strong headed. So, like, yeah, I'm not going to apologize. Yeah, I'm not going to do this and that. But it was a moment in my life where I took a turning point and I was just like, you know what? It's not worth it. Like, is it worth my relationship with her? And so instead of taking what she said and putting up a wall even further, I exposed myself and I like let my feelings out with her and I let her know like, hey, it was a misunderstanding, how you were feeling and how you were looking at it and how I took what you said, and I appreciate your honesty, and so in a situation like that, we were able to be so transparent and honest with each other and able to continue to build our relationship and move on and just have more of a trusted relationship, understanding with each other. Be able to be vulnerable in our moments of downtime or in our moments of like just going through anything or just small things like how was your day, like how was work, what's going on at work. We didn't used to have those conversations, and now those are conversations that um, we're glad to share and glad to have with each other. And so sometimes it takes you being a bigger person, you taking a step back and looking at yourself and like, hey, you know what? It's not all this person. I could handle my responses differently as well. Like, you don't have to be the person that's like, no, I'm not apologizing. No, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Sometimes it doesn't even take an apology. People just want to hear your vulnerableness with you being accountable. Like, hey, you know what? I didn't handle that in the best way, or I didn't know that that made you feel like that. And so just being accountable also is a sign of you being open and vulnerable and being able to grow and engage in better behavior, better activities with a family member, friend, or whoever you're talking to. It could be your boss. Um, it's to me, it's about knowing when. And when I say that, it's more like you should start having a discernment spirit where you know when to let that wall down. You know when it's like everything is not about a fight. You should know when it's like, okay, well, at this time, it's like I've been doing this for so long. Let me try something different. How about I don't have this wall up. How about I bring it down just a little bit and open my heart, open my mind to what a person is saying, how they're feeling, because people do change and grow over time. You can't expect that someone is the same way. They could have changed in one day. They could have had an experience that made them change. But you can expect that someone is the same from a year, 2 years, 3 years ago, or when they were kids, that they're the same person now. You just can't set up that expectation, because when you do those things and you set up expectations like that, you make it hard for you yourself to be vulnerable to that person, because you're always seeing them in this light. You're never seeing them in a more positive light. You're just like, oh no, you did this, you did this, you did this. I mean, how long ago was that happened? I mean, so it's like in certain cases, you just, like I said, you just have to have that discernment of when to be vulnerable and when to let that wall down, and when it's time for you to make those changes necessary. And I notice a lot of times with people, they choose not to be vulnerable, because they have a fear of being judged. They have a fear of being misunderstood or abandoned, because sometimes people don't are let me rewind. Some people are not able to articulate exactly what it is that they're wanting or they're feeling or what's going on. Some people are afraid that if they say it in a certain way, or they say it at all, like, they'll be judged or they'll be looked at, or you're still gonna have like an ill feelings towards them. And so it gets hard to be vulnerable with a person that you feel no matter what is going to be said that you're going to be conflicted. And so with that, you need to show, sometimes you need to be the person to show vulnerability to the other person in order for them to just open up to you and have that communication with you and let you know, like, hey, this is what you said or did to make me feel this way. And that's, like, a lot goes into that. It can be societal norms, it can be past traumas, it can be cultural expectations. Those things shape our defenses and make it harder to show our real selves. And so you have to take that into account when you're talking to a person, that, hey, yes, I'm used to doing this in my culture, but hey, let's say you got a friend and they're of another culture. They're not so open to certain things. And so you have to take that into account and figure out ways to get them to that point of being open and being honest with you and being, and I'm not saying that they're liars or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, you have to get them to that point of feeling comfortable enough to come to you. You have to make yourself emotionally available. You have to make yourself, what is it called? Like, make a person feel welcome. Like, make them feel like, hey, you can come talk to me, and not have a backlash with them, like you're going to bring it up somehow, you need to acknowledge that it's normal to be afraid. Like, let them know, hey, I understand, like, if you don't want to talk about it, or if you're having a problem with something. But staying guarded often leads to deeper isolation and missed opportunities for that connection. And so that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, you don't want to stay on guard or the defense with something, because that in turn makes a person be like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable talking to you. I don't want to come to you, whatever their case is. So you need to be on the other side of the spectrum and also be vulnerable to whatever that person is going through, whatever is going on, even if it's something that's just like, so that you would say from how you were raised and what you've seen is so, like, morally wrong, due to your religious background or your raisings or whatever. You still have to be that opening ear. And if that person needs help or whatever, you have to respect their wishes as to how they want to receive help, how they want to receive different things in life that doesn't necessarily match what you're used to seeing or what you're used to experiencing, but it is going to work for you to help that person, if you get what I'm saying. So I just need people to understand that when people are growing, and you can have an expectation that people are growing at your same level. But when they are growing and trying to figure out themselves and they're trying to open up to themselves and the world and you about anything, you do have to have in mind that they have that fear of rejection and judgment and shame about the situation already. So you don't want to add injury to insult when you are having this aura of you're not emotionally available for them to talk to or vent to or something like that. And I also want to acknowledge that being vulnerable is a gateway to authentic relationships. It invites trust, deepens intimacy, and fosters real friendships, partnerships, and even stronger family bonds, which is the example I gave you earlier when I said, hey, I had a moment with my sister and I had to learn like, hey, I don't have to be on the defense. She's looking for someone to um, actually understand what she's going through and hear her out. I don't have to always have a response or a rebuttal. I can stand in my position securely without making her feel insulted or ashamed about her position. And so you should be in a position where you're open and honest, and this could possibly transform the dynamic of the relationship, whether it be friendship, romantic, platonic, professional, whatever type of relationship you're trying to build with the person. Having that honest, open communication is going to lead to a victory in a relationship. I do want you to take note that the role of vulnerability in personal growth and leadership, it isn't just for relationships. It's critical for personal and professional growth. Um, Leaders who admit to making mistakes, ask for help, ensure their humanity creates stronger teams and cultures. So, like I said, even people that's just of higher status or have a lot of money, um, or just have a lot of praise for being an upstanding person, they make mistakes. They do ask for help, and they're very honest and open and vocal about mistakes and challenges that they have faced building their company or building or making something or becoming who they were. They are very open about, like homelessness, experiencing hardship. And so that is definitely a form of vulnerability, but also personal growth to become that leader that you're trying to be. You need to be able to talk to your counterparts and people that is of public relation about your setbacks and about things that you've overcome as challenges in order to become who you are. And so all of that is going to give you inner strength, inner peace. It's going to help you rise above your fears, insecurities, and failures. And so ultimately, you'll have that self improvement and innovation in your personal life and in your relationships that you're pursuing or relationships that you currently have. So, with that said, guys, I do want to leave you with like four main things that I would say that you should practice every day. You should think about every day. Number one, practice being honest about small things first. And so, if you're a person that have a hard time just like grounding yourself and standing up for yourself and standing up for any situation where you're honest about who you are, but you don't necessarily want to be vulnerable. I mean, just be honest with small things. Like start off with that. It could be something as small as someone you had an extra soda that you were supposed to be sharing with your sibling or your spouse or something, and you guys were splitting it even, and you got one more than them and you're trying to convince them that no, I had my share and you had your share. I'm just giving like a miscellaneous example, but just be honest. Hey, yeah, I had one more extra. I do apologize about that. And people will respect your honesty, and they'll look at you as a much more better person than where you're sitting up there telling fibs to them about small situations. Number two, I want to say allow yourself to say I don't know or I'm struggling without the shame of feeling like somebody's gonna say something or judge you. If you don't sincerely know something, you don't know. I mean, but also you can say this, I don't know, but I can figure it out. I'm struggling, but I'm making progress. Like, you always want to give yourself a positive because that also builds up your self esteem and for you to be vulnerable in a situation. Like if you say you don't know, but you can figure it out. I mean, you see how that's a negative, but then you turned it into a positive. If you say I'm struggling, but I'm making progress. You see how that was first a negative sentence, but you made it a positive? That right there is going to give others like uh, the leeway to be like, wow, they're very accountable. They're like so honest about what they're going through. But I do see their progress. I do see that they try to figure out things even when they don't know, even when they're lost, even when they're like in a tiff. They're still willing to try to figure out their life or situations. I also want to say find safe people or spaces where you can be real. So to that, I would say basically find people that accept you for you, that doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, that doesn't make you feel like you need to be someone you're not. You're not someone, something else other than you. You need to find people who are going to help you elevate yourself, but also stand in your own truth as who you are as a person. Your goals help you reach your goals, help you to, like, and I don't mean like financially, but I'm just saying like uplift you to say, hey, you can do it. You have great potential. People that are going to be rooting for you and not against you. You never want to find yourself in spaces where people are against you and who you are and the things that you would like to pursue in your life. And last but not least, I would say challenge yourself to share something true, even if it's scary in conversations. Um, because it's even been like times where you can have a bonfire and you're telling a story of something that you went through and you never know out of like a couples retreat or something or friends retreat who has had that same experience or who can connect with you based off of that um, experience. And they're like, hey, I really enjoyed your, like, after you tell your story, hey, I really enjoyed your story. I know someone who went through that, or I went through that, and that was very dear to me. I was kind of scared to share something like that. So you just never know who you're helping when you're being vulnerable and open and honest about who you are and your experiences and how you overcame those challenges. And I'll end with this as a reminder: vulnerability is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger you become. And so, guys, you want to be use your vulnerability on a daily basis. Again, have discernment spirit. Know when to use that, but you can't not use it every day. You have to use it, and figure out when is those leading moments where you can just be who you are. So it'll help you become stronger and stronger and stronger as a person. But thank you guys for listening to this podcast today. Tune in to our next episode. We upload every day at 1:30. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And share if this message hits you or this message you can vibe with and relate to. I would say go ahead and leave a comment down in the comment section, guys, and let me know your experiences when you were vulnerable. If you would like to be on the show, email us or leave us a comment. Thank you. See you on the next episode.